We've seen some important developments, and it means something potentially huge that nobody is talking about in this market. So what I want to go through with you first of all, before we even get to that, is the very short-term analysis and just cover what we've seen here. In the previous videos, I was talking to you about how Bitcoin's doing exactly the same thing that it did previously when Bitcoin broke from 9K up and just rallied up to $60,000, and how we could be in a bit of a similar situation to that. And we've now gotten the bounce up that we were expecting as well. We knew that when we drop down here, we're probably not going to spend too long down here. We're just going to battle the support range a little bit and then come back up, and that is exactly what we've gone ahead and done right here. Not quite in exactly the same way that I was looking at. I did say that I was expecting Bitcoin to get a little bit lower than this, and so maybe that's a sign that Bitcoin does need to dip down again. Maybe not. You'll see why later on in this video, because there's actually also a really good development on this chart. But we didn't quite come all the way down, and we have also moved a little bit quickly. So that's the first thing I wanted to say, is that we are now deviating from this fractal a little bit that I was speaking to you guys about previously, right? If you guys remember this chart that I was speaking to you guys quite a bit about, it was right here where we formed basically exactly the same kind of chart pattern, you know, rallied up, consolidated for a long time, made a big move up, sideways, big move down, small move down, you know, and then just blasted off. So, you know, according to this chart, we'd basically be ready for it right now, right? I mean, you know, we'd expect Bitcoin to do something a little bit like this, and then bam, that's it. You know, we're off to $90,000, $150,000. That's still in play. You know, I don't necessarily think we're going that crazy in terms of price, but you know, something really nice happening. It's definitely still in play, and I'm still bullish. You guys know the deal. I'm still in my long position that I traded on Bybit. I made over 400% profit, which translates to over $200,000 for this position for me. Absolutely beautiful. I entered with about actually I entered with almost exactly this much USD, $111,000, and now I've made over 200k on top of that, which is absolutely fucking phenomenal. That's a 3 times gain on this trade, and definitely on a nice sum of money as well. So if you are interested in trading these markets in the same way that I'm trading them, check it out with Bybit, linked in the description down below. And you've also got that iPhone giveaway. All you've got to do is register using my link and make your first deposit of $100 or more, and you will be entered to get an iPhone 14 Pro Max. Now, here's where things are interesting. I want to start off by talking about CME gaps. We don't actually talk about CME gaps that much anymore, but they're still relevant, at least to a lot of other people, and they're worth talking about just a little bit. And really, all I want to do here is just highlight that, you know, I mean, this is where CME trading sessions open and close, and when they're closed over the weekends, you know, volatility still happens, so Bitcoin moves up, but CME only opens up again on a working day, right? So it just starts trading wherever the real Bitcoin was trading at that time, and that's what leaves these gaps. Now, a lot of people prophesize that, you know, Bitcoin's going to fill these gaps, and I just want to, you know, give you a few examples, you know, of how, like, we have filled these gaps, right? Like, here's the gap that we had right here, we filled it with this wick. Here's another gap right here, we filled it shortly afterwards, and so on and so forth. So we have filled some gaps here. But there are also some gaps that we haven't filled. You know, when we were rallying up really strongly, just actually right when I entered my long position, we made a gap right there. This rally happened on a weekend. Up here, around $35,000, we've got another gap, you know, that could use some filling as well. But here's the thing, and this is what's really important, is that these are not like 100% surefire things that, you know, like we're definitely always going to be filling gaps. We've got a gap down here at about $9,000-$10,000. I don't know if you can read this price because of my picture, but you know, we've had a gap down here now since this is 2020. Okay, so it's been, I mean, this was July of 2020. It's been nearly 3 years. You know, that we've had this gap and we've not filled it. And you know what, like, depending on what side of the camp you sit on, we may never fill it. You know, so that is something that is important to keep in mind, because a lot of people think that we just kind of, you know, have to go down to fill these gaps because of, you know, like, that's where liquidity is or whatever. But, you know, I mean, if you've got one, you know, huge gaping fucking exception to that, then I just don't, you know, I have to call into question the whole theory. You know, much more realistically, I think what we're looking at for Bitcoin is simply, it's very volatile, you know, so that's why we end up seeing, you know, moves that very quickly fill gaps. You know, historically, or perhaps not so quickly. But the fact that Bitcoin's very volatile means it just happens to revisit price levels all the time, and doesn't mean that we're filling gaps. And I think that's important, but this chart is still promising, because some people are still going to believe in that kind of thing, and moving up there to fill that would make a lot of sense. moving down here to fill this would also make a lot of sense, because as much as you guys know I'm bullish, this is a really good area for Bitcoin to drop down to. If Bitcoin can come back down. See, here's the thing, guys. Let's ground ourselves and be quite realistic about this right now and speak about this as though we're completely emotionally detached, which is exactly how we should be in these markets. And keep in mind that if Bitcoin were to, fall all the way back down here, yes, that would be really bad in terms of losing progress, right? I mean, that would be a horrible sign. That would be, a big display of things going wrong and we're losing a lot of progress. But if we did end up falling down here and then recovering up again, all that means is we've had another leg down to wash people out, to let scared money sell, and transfer wealth from the hands of the impatient to the patient, right? Because that's basically all that trading is, right? If you're a patient person, you're probably going to end up getting somebody else's money who is impatient. That's just how it works in the game of trading. And if we end up falling down here and then recovering back up, that means we're good, right? That means we've cleared a lot of the shit. But it also means that we've had so many more people who were going to sell off leave the market. And what's really important, right? Like, I don't get excited when a lot of people are pressing the green button. I want to make this point really clear with you guys. You already know that I'm a trader, right? Like, I'm actually trading these markets. I'm not here to just push links on YouTube and stuff like that. So for me, it's really important to keep in mind when there's a lot of buying activity, the next thing that these buyers can do is sell. I have to ground myself in these facts. A lot of other people won't even think about the market this way. A lot of other people will be very excited when the market is going up, and so on. And that's when they want to buy. And I can understand that. But for me, buying when it's low is what's important, right? I want to buy when the price is low, not when we've already, rallied up massively necessarily, because I'm missing out on profits, right? But the only way you can do that is positioning yourself when people are selling, right? When there's a lot of selling pressure, that's exactly when you know that those people, if they've exhausted their supply, they can't sell anymore. The only button people can press at that point is the green one. And that's where things get really exciting in these markets. Now, I want to move on to this chart as well. This is the 4-hour time frame for Bitcoin, showing the very same area of support that we didn't quite come down to, but we have now moved a little bit higher from. And what I really like about this chart is this right here. It's the 4-hour Ichimoku cloud. Look at how precisely we came down, just wicked down to this Ichimoku cloud of support, and then bounced right back up. That is a really big deal, and I want you guys to smash up the likes if you remember me talking about that in yesterday's video. That's one of the first big things that I spoke about in the video, was the Ichimoku cloud, and I covered with you how they were really wide before, meaning it was offering a lot of support, but it's still pretty wide right now. I'm sorry, but it's pretty narrow right now, and we still got a bounce, right? That's really impressive. The fact that Bitcoin only just gently love tapped it, really, and then continued to rise back up is a really good sign. Now, look, I don't want to read into this too much, because the bounce was also, kind of stifled a little bit. This is kind of, maybe if you want to take a slightly bearish outlook, this is where it could become a little bit of a weaker picture. And that's simply because Bitcoin from this low managed to rally up by 4.83%, but it topped out right within the 1-hour Ichimoku cloud. And you know what? Like, it's natural, it's normal to get a big move up like this. 4.8% is definitely not small, like it's not tiny, and then you get a bit of a correction, right? So that's super normal, so I'm not even too worried about that. But at the same time, what I can see quite clearly now developing on the 4-hour time frame, and we're starting to shift to the things that nobody is talking about now. This is where we're actually going to really dial up the heat, guys. And if you are excited for that, do me a favor and smash up the likes. And if you haven't done so already, definitely check out Bybit with the link in the description down below, because they are offering you up to 30k in trading ammunition to trade these markets you can trade pretty much every coin you like, really. They've got everything out there, and if you already have an account, you can make a brand new one to take advantage of this offer anyway, which is very, very cool. But what I want to highlight with you guys now is, see, like on the 4-hour time frame, on the 1-hour time frame, we've entered a range of a bit of chop right now, right? It looks like we're kind of going sideways a little bit potentially, especially given that we topped out right here. We're not continuing the trend. That is very clear. And What I don't want to see is another long period of consolidation directly after, we've already had the same thing, purely because it just doesn't scream confidence, right? Like, when we start doing things like this, we're going to really start to see that we're just, like, not showing that much strength, to be honest. And that is where things can get a little bit concerning. We can already start to see this, like what I'm talking about, if we look at the RSI. Now, I'm not going to use the RSI in the conventional way that everyone else uses the RSI, because they don't use it correctly. But what we can see here, just quite clearly here, it's not really, particularly open to interpretation, is that Bitcoin moved up, right? I mean, Bitcoin continued its trend higher, but the RSI, interestingly, if we go ahead and just draw a line on the RSI like this, connecting 2 points, we can get an idea for, like, is it trending up, is it trending down, right? The line is pointing down, so it's obviously, the price is, the RSI is trending down, but the price is going up, right? And this is a divergence, okay? So that's fairly straightforward. A lot of you may already know about this, but some of you might not. Some of you don't know what a divergence is, and it's literally just where the RSI is moving in the opposite direction of the price, and that is a display that we might not have as much strength, right? Like, what is the RSI? It's the relative strength index. And if we're losing strength in the market, that will be shown with the RSI. The RSI will start trending lower. We will punch in lower highs, even though the price keeps on punching in higher highs. And this can be a very early warning sign that things are about to turn and get really bad. And the reason I'm stressing the word early is because when things are early, they're also wrong. Like, if you're too early to something, but you keep on taking that same bet, you're just going to keep on fucking up. So, that's a really important thing to keep in mind, is that early means danger in trading, because not only is your job as a trader, to get the move right? Like, if it's going up, you have to trade the correct direction, but you also have to get the timing right. And if you get the timing wrong, but the idea right, you're still going to lose money. And there's a lot of, you need the timing and you need the right idea at the same time, and that's not super easy, right? So the RSI is why a lot of people lose money, and it's why, like, you'll see people who teach about trading and they'll teach about the RSI, but if you actually try and implement, and it's not just about the RSI, it's about anything in trading. If you look at what someone's teaching about trading and then you try and implement it and you're just scratching your head wondering, what the fuck is this? How do I do this? It's not working like that in real life. The price is doing weird things. Nothing makes sense, even though I learned everything from, the course or the book. It's because you're learning from someone who just hasn't really, like, experienced the markets. That's why those of you that are inside of the VIP group who've got the course and stuff like that, you'll see that, like, we're just going over quite basic things. I mean, we're doing it at a very advanced level, but I'm not really talking about crazy things. I'm just drawing a diagonal line, right? Like, I mean, other chartists will be putting all sorts of crazy indicators and Fibonacci fucking time expansions with black holes and shit on their chart, but here I'm just looking at support levels. And I think that's just an important thing to keep in mind. It doesn't matter your experience level. When I learned to a really good level at these markets, and then I went back to learning the basics again from someone who really understands them, like 𝐁𝐻𝐍𝐵, who you really need to learn from if you like my content. When I was going and doing that, even though I was already really experienced and I knew 100% of what he was talking about, hearing it from someone who has such a good understanding of the markets was powerful. If you think that you want to be able to learn that kind of thing from me, I obviously feel like I put together a really good package. You can also reach out using these links down here in the description. And I want to highlight the second channel. If you're interested in altcoin analysis only, I'm going to be right there on this channel after I upload this video with some really cool analysis for you, including link analysis. I covered link with you yesterday, and that has continued to develop very, very nicely. So I'm going to be talking to you about that shortly. Back to the chart here, though, and this is what's most important, is that we are, showing signs of losing strength a little bit while the market continues to rally up. And it's just that on the 4-hour time frame, like I said, we've now entered that range of chop as well, which isn't giving me amazing levels of confidence right now. We've lost the EMA ribbon a fair while back, but we do have the daily EMA ribbon, which hasn't quite caught up to the market. And this is the thing, is that, like, short-term time frames, we're not really showing anything right now. Like, it's almost starting to shift back into neutral territory, but long term, and it's always the long term perspectives that are more important, the long term perspective is looking like even if we do drop a little bit more, which it very well looks like we could, we're probably going to capture support pretty quickly with some really, really heavy support as well, which I do like the look of, right? Even if we drop down very short term, very just a little bit, like to just like $1,000 down, we'd still be in a really nice area of support right here with the cloud. What's really interesting beyond all of this though, and even though no one's talking about that stuff, what no one is talking about, even less I guess than what I've just been describing, is this inverse head and shoulders pattern. Now you guys know that I'm not crazy for head and shoulders patterns and stuff like that, but when I do pay attention is when we've already formed so many of the steps. Now see, here's what's wrong, right? Here's what's wrong in my opinion, is that people will start talking about a head and shoulders pattern when Bitcoin is over here, and what I would say, as hopefully the voice of reason, is, well, we haven't hit the neckline yet, we haven't formed the right shoulder yet, we haven't hit the neckline after that yet, and we haven't had a breakout, and the pattern is only confirmed when you get the back test, right? It's just a weird, that's just how this pattern is, right? I mean, you can start paying attention to the pattern over here if you wish, but it's only confirmed when you get the back test, and that's when it's like, all right, we're probably going full send. And the reason that it's such a slow thing is because all of these chart patterns were discovered, I guess, in the last century. So markets moved slower back then. There was no Bitcoin back then, there was no internet, not like we have right now. So things just move slower, okay? And that's why expectations for confirmations were also slow. But those are good things, right? If you move slower, if you just kind of pace yourself a little bit more, it's not like you're going to make less money. I promise you. I've been there. The less you trade, the slower you move, the more you fucking breathe and think, the better you will do. I promise you. But what's really important about this chart is we have now gone a nice way towards that target. I've covered this with you in a recent video. Those of you that are subscribed are going to know about that. And it's a good chart, seeing that we've already rallied up basically halfway up to the target at $40,000. It's very promising, and this is a good pattern. It developed over a long period of time. It's definitely very valid. For that very reason, we formed a very clear left shoulder, a very clear head, and to be fair, yeah, decent right shoulder. It's not perfect, but we're not looking for perfect. We're just looking for characteristics, and the characteristic is we set a low, we sweep it, and then we match the first low, and then we skyrocket beyond the neckline. And that is exactly what we got, and it's a really strong representation of breaking resistance. But it is starting to look a little bit heavy now, don't you guys think, right? If we look at this chart just now, it is starting to look a little bit heavy. Like, it does need to get some sort of a more kind of macro pullback. We can't keep celebrating and enjoying in the sun forever, right? The market needs to come back to reality just to kind of refuel and move up again. And yeah, this is looking like the right time for that to happen, which kind of sucks because I wanted to see the price drop, rise even higher. I don't know if like previously I was telling you guys my bias is pretty heavy to the upside. I was very confident, telling you guys that throughout the 3 weeks we were here, and believe me, that was difficult, right? Because you get, the market wears you down in two ways. Number one, with price, by dropping the price, but number two, with time, right? If the market just doesn't do anything for a long time, you as a trader, me as a trader, I'm a human at the end of the day. I'm a young guy too. I start losing confidence in myself too, right? As a trader, and that definitely happened when we were back here. But now, now it's just looking heavy, guys. I don't like seeing that Bitcoin got a breakout above, 28, above 29. We're in the $30,000 range now, and we're not doing anything. I don't like that. I think that it's starting to show signs that it might, like, if we're not pushing the upside, well, then where else are we gonna go? You know what I mean? Like, if you don't go up, what other direction do you have to go? It's only down, and that's why I'm paying attention to this. Now, I'm not doing anything with my positions. I'm not worried. I'm not repositioning anything necessarily. The only thing this would mean is way more opportunities. I covered with you earlier on in the video what that would mean if Bitcoin fell back down to 20K. This is the same thing. It's just more shallow, and that's fine. You know, we've got support down here on the daily time frame. We already did almost exactly the same thing previously. It just looks like the next logical step, where we take a step down into a higher low, and then we set a new higher high. It's the only way that markets can move sustainably, and lately we've been moving pretty sustainably, in my opinion. Look at how long this correction was. We had a really nice rally, but then we paid for it with 2 corrections. We had a really nice rally, but we've paid for it as well with 1 correction here and a bit of indecisiveness here. Getting a pullback now, it just kind of seems fair, to be honest. Like, at the end of the day, that's the only way I can put it, is it feels like it would be fair. And I don't know if that's what the market is going for, but so far, you know, we've been enjoying the sun, and we've been paying for it. So maybe we're gonna pay for it some more, you know, some point soon. That is something that I'm going to continue to watch and let you know how I see the developments there. Right now, though, I'm going to go over to the altcoin market. There's a lot going on. Ethereum's popping off. Ethereum against Bitcoin making a bit of a pullback. We've been really on point with our altcoin analysis, guys. You know, ever since I started up that second channel, I know that not all of you have actually gone over to that channel. We have put out some extremely good analysis, and you guys have I've seen you guys make some good gains off it too, which is very, very impressive. It's happening right now. It's been happening over the last few days. I haven't dropped it. We're still going. We're still full power ahead over there, just identifying patterns, showing you how I think they could be traded and so on, just really looking at all the potential in the market, and it has been very, very rewarding. So if you are interested in that kind of stuff, it's going to be right here on this link in the description. When you watch this video, the next one will already be up, so you can go ahead and watch that. I'm not sure what I'm going to cover first. It might be Link, because Link has actually broken out a little bit higher since my video on it yesterday, which is definitely interesting. Yeah, might be a breakout actually. I'm not sure. I need to go back and check this. But anyway, there you go. If you have enjoyed this video, you know exactly what to do. Hit up the likes, subscribe, tick the bell, do all of that good stuff. Take advantage of the Bybit giveaway if you want to get an iPhone 14 Pro Max for free. And depending on how much you deposit, as long as you deposit over $100, you're in the giveaway. But depending on how much you deposit, you're also going to get some free cash bonuses, where they just give you more free money that you can trade with in the market. And if you make any money with it, you can withdraw that cash too, which is very, very cool. All right, guys. Hope you have enjoyed this one, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.